What's up? What's up, everybody? How we doing? How is everybody? I set this up a second ago and I didn't even realize that it started. And then I came back and there's all these goddamn comments already. So that's the way to do it. You let it sit for a second and let people come in. I just goddamn, I already fucking these comments, some of them are fucking great. Someone said she didn't she didn't pander to Black Lives Matter hard enough. All right. All right. Well, we'll get into all of it. So, I let me know by the way, do I sound good? Is it coming through good? Just let me know in the fucking comments real quick cuz if there's a problem, I'm doing this by myself. I don't have a producer involved. Audio good. All right, good. Very good. Okay. So I wanted to do this video that I've been thinking about for a little while. So here we go. This is the post-mortem on Joe Jorgensen, Spike Cohen's 2020 campaign for the Libertarian Party, which I am a member of, a dues-paying member of the party, and I have been for a few years. So that's, I think I'm entitled to give you my thoughts on the matter, and I've got I think a lot of people who were asking me to do this, and then a few people in the Libertarian Party who probably would rather I didn't. But that's not how I roll, so I'm gonna do it. All right, I tweeted this out, so we got some more viewers jumping in. Good. This is okay. All right. I just wanted to give people a chance to jump in. Although I guess this will be posted as a video up here afterwards. So if you don't watch it live, you can watch it some other time. So let's start off here. I want to start by saying congratulations to Joe Jorgensen and to Spike Cohen and thanking them. And I mean both of those sincerely. Congratulations and thank you to both Joe Jorgensen and Spike Cohen. They really, fucking tried to do something uh important. And it's courageous to try to spread the message of liberty, I believe. And they fucking went for it and they tried really hard. And I don't know what the final numbers will be. It looks like they got about 1% of the vote. I think that's what they're saying right now. Let me actually check. Yeah, it's a little over 1% of the vote as of right now, about 1.5 or over 1.5 million votes. And that is that's something. That's kind of crazy to get a 1.5 million people to vote for you. That's not nothing. And I like Joe and Spike. I like both of them. I don't know them well, but I've had them both on my podcast, and I think that they're both really good people, and I think they're both good libertarians. And so congrats and thank you to both of them. But I think that we got to talk about what happened with this election, because the bottom line is that this was a failure. And I don't like to say this, as I genuinely I don't want to say anything negative about these guys, because I like them. I have nothing personally against them. The only reason I will say some critical things about them is because I think it's really fucking important that we realize what happened here. Yes, I did steal that title from Hillary Clinton, by the way. But it's important to get this, because I think this was a huge opportunity that has been wasted. I think it was a golden opportunity. And man, has it been wasted. Now, I'll tell you, by the way, the only reason why I'm doing this video today is because I think that people get emotional about these elections, and it's kind of hard to talk about until they're over. And there are some libertarians who I think will, may have a cooler head about it today than they would have even just yesterday at this time. So, and that's true for a lot of people. I don't even mean to knock that. I wasn't particularly emotional about this election, but I have been in the past. I mean, I was like really emotionally invested in Ron Paul's 2012 campaign. And I mean, like I had my heart broken in that campaign. I don't know if people remember or if they were involved in it or around at the time, but Ron Paul in 2012 was um I think he was, I'm trying to remember this exactly, but he was like in first place or tied for first place in Iowa and New Hampshire, the two first primaries. And he basically won the Iowa straw poll. And then he was like right close to first in New Hampshire. And I remember, and there was like no clear front runner that year. Mitt Romney ended up winning it. And I remember like being so like, if Ron Paul had won Iowa and New Hampshire, there'd be no, like the media was blacking him out. And there would be like, there's no way they can keep blacking him out. In 2012, it's 8 years ago, but social media wasn't quite the thing it was. It was still much more of a world where you had to go through the traditional media. Social media was getting bigger, but it wasn't what it is today. And anyway, but it was, my heart was broken when Ron Paul ended up not winning Iowa, even though he won most of the delegates later. But anyway, um, and then not winning New Hampshire, and it kind of all just didn't go the way we were hoping it would go, and it was really hard. And I was also heartbroken by Rand Paul's 2016 campaign for other reasons, just the way he ran it. So I know what it's like to be like emotionally invested in a presidential campaign, and I understand why some people were invested in this campaign, and that's good in a lot of ways. And so I get where, if like I can put myself in the perspective of if some podcaster with an audience was like trashing Ron Paul at that time, where I'd be like, dude, shut the fuck up and try to help us, and don't, so I get that. um but I I'll tell you, just like I'm not making this video because I want to shit on Joe or Spike. The reason why I was critical of them all throughout this campaign is because I thought that was the best thing that I could do to help. And not that it did much to help, but I just thought that was the best thing I could do. And maybe it'll at least set us up on a path to understand what went wrong here. Just like in 2016, we needed to understand what went wrong with that campaign. We need to understand this one again, because this was a really important moment and a really big opportunity that was blown. And we have to recognize that. We have to recognize that this was a failure. And I'm sorry if that hurts, some people's feelings, but believe me, everybody outside of the ticket who is not emotionally invested in this, they know this was a huge fucking failure, and in many ways an embarrassment, which speaks for a lot of the Libertarian Party over the last few years. And we're doing what we can to try to change that, but it's there's a lot of work still to be done. So this this cycle, real I became a dues paying member of the Libertarian Party like a couple of years ago, but it was really over this last year that I got involved and supported Jacob Hornberger for to be the presidential candidate. And he a bunch of the podcasters supported him, the Mises Caucus supported him. We got involved, I think, a little less than a year out from the race, so a little less than a year ago. And we got a lot of new membership. We drove a lot of new membership. We got some people into delegate positions, but ultimately, I really think we started a little bit too late and didn't have that much time to push people, to get more delegates. Um, Jacob Hornberger is a really smart guy and a really principled libertarian. And, we kind of thought like maybe he could kind of be the guy to reignite the Ron Paul energy. I don't know. I don't know what would have happened if he had been the candidate. I think that truthfully speaking, he didn't run the best campaign, and he didn't perform in many ways the way a lot of us thought he would. That being said, he did win kind of what is the LP version of the popular vote. Like all the polls that they did, he won, dominantly. But he didn't win with the delegates. He came in second with the delegates. And so uh you know, whatever. Hey, he won the, he kind of had a lot of support, but he didn't end up winning it. But that's, hey, Hillary Clinton won the popular vote too. So who the fuck cares, right? Doesn't really matter. That's not what the game is. And so he lost the delegates and Joe Jorgensen won. And I was fine. I mean, I was bummer our guy didn't get in, but I was like, hey, Joe seems all right. Maybe she'll do a good job. I congratulated her publicly. I very shortly after had her on my podcast. I was like, let's try to help her out. Maybe she's good. She seems pretty good on the issues. And Spike Cohen, I didn't know anything about until he won, but I heard from some people that he was great. So I started this pretty open-minded about the campaign, maybe not super enthusiastic about it, but I was certainly like, okay, let's fucking see what they got, which, hoping for the best. And it just didn't work out. The more time that went on, the more obvious it became what was happening. Now, like I was saying before, I could have done this video last week. I could have done this video last month. The only reason I waited till now is because I was hoping that maybe when, emotions are tempered a little bit, people hear what I have to say more. But because the truth is, it doesn't matter to me that they got 1.5 million votes, or if they got 500,000 votes, or if they got 5 million votes. Like that wouldn't be how I judge the success of this campaign, because as I've said for a while, votes don't matter. Votes don't matter to me. Like none of that. Votes don't matter. Funding doesn't matter. Ballot access doesn't matter. Membership doesn't matter. Here's all that matters is liberty. That's all that matters is liberty. It's not, you know, and again, people saw like my debate with Sarwalk. You guys know how I feel with this, or people who listen to the show, people listening to my channel. We, the United States of America, we're on a fucking suicide mission. Like that's really where we are, and I think people can feel that. I think that when Ron Paul said we're on a suicide mission, I mean, these are my words, not his, but this is basically, what he was saying. When said, we're on a suicide mission, I think maybe it sounded a little bit more like, okay, well, that's a little bit, of an exaggeration. But today, I don't think it does feel that way. I think it's like, no, you can see it. I think even for a lot of libertarians who were completely sold on on all this stuff, it's almost like if you were like on a plane, right? Like imagine you're on an airplane and you look out the window and Ron Paul, the guy sitting next to you, is like, hey, you see there's a crack in that window and we're gonna crash. You see this crack and you see how it's faced like this and you see this, and he starts showing you, and then he teaches you all about it, and you're like, oh shit, now I understand aerodynamics of how wings on planes work. And yeah, look at that, the way the crack is, we are definitely going to crash. Oh my god, I never thought about a wing like this. And it's kind of this like abstract fun moment or whatever. And then all of a sudden, the plane starts fucking shaking and tipping down, and you're like, oh yeah, no, he's right, this wasn't just theoretical, this is like, he told you why we're on a suicide mission and broke down exactly what it is. And it's not that, it's not rocket science, really. I mean, like to understand why this country is on a fucking suicide mission. It's like, okay, well, we're like approaching $30 trillion in debt, and we have a completely, hyper regulated economy, and we still have, involvement in like 6 different wars that we can't win or end. And the government has now locked people down and destroyed the economy by keeping them in their house. And we have this fucking, prison industrial complex, and like all the, like all the problems that we know that are really destroying the country. And you're seeing it right now, like fucking everything's spinning out of control. They're just like, this whole last year for 2020 has basically just been the government of the United States of America locking Americans in their home while they rape you. Like just fucking rape you, just printing trillions of dollars and corporate bailouts and all this fucking shit, and distract you with bullshit, And so we've got the answers libertarians. Like we fucking basically end all this shit. Stop doing it. That's pretty much the answer. You know, it's like you're on a suicide mission. You're like doing so much heroin, you're going to kill yourself. Well, the answer is stop doing heroin, and the answer is to abolish all of this government shit. So we know how to fix that wing on the plane. So if you're in that situation where the wing's broken and the plane's going down, and you know how to fix the wing, you need to fucking try to fix that wing. And that's what we need to do. We need to try. We need liberty. None of this other shit. Liberty. That's what we fucking need. Now, my thesis or my hypothesis is that in order to achieve liberty, we need to convince a lot more people that liberty is the way to go. That seems like a pretty reasonable, uh, strategy. So that's the goal, is to convince more people, convert more people, red pill more people about what's really going on. Okay. So that's the fucking goal. Now, I don't care about vote totals because, like, obviously, it's Joe Jorgensen wasn't going to get elected president this time around, So that's like not what it's about. Vote totals alone don't mean anything. If you'd like some proof of that, well, Gary Johnson and Bill Weld got way more votes. They got like 3 million more votes. And isn't that kind of proof that the votes don't matter? So they got 4.5 million votes or whatever. And the next time around, the Libertarian Party fucking fell right back because they didn't bring any new libertarians on board. They didn't convert any people to libertarianism. So it doesn't matter. It did nothing. All that matters is converting more people, because all that matters is actual liberty. And we're not going to get liberty unless we have more libertarians. Like, that seems like, right? That's the big problem. Why aren't we in a libertarian society? Well, problem number one would be libertarians are a very tiny portion of society. So, that to me seems self-evident. So anyway, my point is that I knew this campaign was a failure, a couple months ago. It was clear a month ago, and I just happen to be doing the video now because it's over, and yeah, people want to think about it now in hindsight. So, what went wrong? There's a lot to that, but I think it's important to understand, because there'll always be different people who have a different theory on what went wrong, and I'm sure there'll be some people who blame me or blame our wing of the party or whatever. But look, this is let's get real. Our candidate fucking won the popular vote but didn't win the delegates, and the Prague caucus got their candidate in, and who they chose in Joe Jorgensen was somebody who, again, like I said, is I think a really nice lady, and I'm sure a somewhat principled, decent libertarian. But the problem is that we're in the business of trying to spread the message, and she's a horrible messenger. I mean, just really, really awful. Like, there's just nothing redeeming about her. She's look, libertarians in general were fucking weird people, and I'm no exception to that rule. But she's kind of a weird lady. She dresses kind of weird and looks kind of weird, and she's just really, really bad at messaging. I mean, she had some opportunities on some shows, and oof, it was there's just nothing compelling about her, nothing that's going to motivate people. You would never hear her and go like, wow, I've never thought about things that way. She doesn't have one libertarian talking point that she puts her own spin on that's good. The ones she puts her own spin on are terrible, just like really terrible. Like, and stuff that we've told her. And this is what's so frustrating, is they never took any of the fucking advice, which, like, fair enough. It wasn't our candidate who won. But anyway, like, believe me, she's been told many times that dumb line that I want to turn America into one giant Switzerland is just terrible. It's stupid. It's something libertarians kind of like, because they, some LP types, because they kind of get what, what she's talking about. But, it's like, what is Switzerland? Like, first off, right wingers are going to look at that and be like, Switzerland? What are you talking about? We're fucking America, And the left wing is like, Switzerland? What? No, we like Denmark. What are you talking about? Like, it just means nothing. We want to be like Switzerland, armed and neutral. It's like, no, don't fucking tell people you want to be like Switzerland. Tell them you want to be like America. We want to be like the Declaration of Independence and the Bill of Rights, you know? Isn't that such a stronger message? It's patriotic. It has to do with the country you're going to govern. Anyway, one small example of a million. But if you looked at any of her, public appearances, she was on Glenn Beck, on Ben Shapiro, on Dave Rubin. These are big shows. These are shows that get bigger audiences than many cable news shows do, for sure. She was on Kennedy, that's a big libertarian show. Bombed every last one of them. Bombed, 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 bombed. They were all disasters, just really bad. And that's kind of important. I mean, particularly if we're going to, if we're going to elect someone who doesn't have high name recognition, which I think is fine. I mean, it's more important to me that you're good on the issues, but they got to be a good messenger. And Spike Cohen, I like Spike a lot. I think he's a talented guy. Spike excites a lot of Libertarian Party members, you know? There's no question about that. I've noticed that a lot of Libertarian Party members think Spike is amazing, and they will tell you over and over again what a phenomenal communicator he is. I I have not seen anyone outside of LP members say that they think Spike Cohen is a wonderful communicator. I'll say that. I haven't seen anyone, you have the Libertarian Party dues paying members. This is a tiny portion of the liberty movement, which is a tiny portion of the bigger political, scene in America. In just the liberty movement, just one step outside of the Libertarian Party, I have not seen a lot of people who think that Spike Cohen is an amazing communicator. That's the truth. If Spike, let me just say this: if Spike is such a fucking amazing communicator, uh, do you see like a huge group of people who he's convinced to be libertarians who weren't libertarians before? But it's not like a rhetorical question. I'm wondering, is that true? You know, I think that, he's I certainly haven't seen any of that. And that would be something that I would take as real evidence. Look, however I feel about any of these people, if you were like, dude, there are 10,000 people who are like hardcore libertarians right now who were not libertarians before because they heard Spike Cohen talk, I'd be like, "Phew, this guy's on to something." You know? I don't see that. I see a lot of people who were already libertarians, really getting on board with his thing, which is not nothing, but it's not. I don't know. It's not quite what what you need. Okay, the ticket, they had no strategy, no discernible strategy whatsoever. Yeah, maybe they did have a strategy, but it was a really bad one. The obvious strategy to go with would have been, okay, we don't know if we're going to get, traditional media attention as easily as Gary Johnson or and Bill Weld did. So we're going to have to get the alternative media locked down. And they did okay on getting on shows. Obviously, they should have pushed to get on fucking Rogan. I don't know how. I had no idea that he even knew who they were, let alone that he voted for. People have just been telling me that over the last 24 hours or whatever since he said that. But you're telling me he's voting for you guys and you couldn't work an appearance out of that? Should have fucking gotten on there. They did ask me to help them with that, which I didn't, just because I was worried that was going to be really bad. I just was really worried that would not help the liberty movement at all. I'm like very concerned about the fact that the vast majority of people think libertarianism is a joke, and particularly the LP. People really think the LP is a joke. It's that fucking meme that goes around that a lot of like popular people have shared, that libertarian ideas versus libertarian candidates, that whole thing. There's it really is a problem, and I think people in the LP should think about this. Like, it's a major problem that, like, you're sitting on the most brilliant, beautiful political philosophy ever, and most people think you're a fucking joke, including most people in the liberty movement. Like, how does that not make you, like, wake up? So weird. There's so many, like, LP types, while they claim they're, like, they're for the free market, but they don't take, like, market cues at all. Like, they don't they're if every libertarian thinks they're a fucking joke and doesn't wanna join their party, it's like, "Well, yeah, that's because 'cause you're stupid." It's or you're racist or whatever, something. It's like, oh, or maybe, if you're in business and you're selling a product and no one wants to buy it, you can just convince yourself that your product is really awesome and they're all stupid, but maybe it's smarter to ask them why. And by the way, if you talk to most people in the libertarian movement who aren't in the Libertarian Party, they are very happy to tell you. Go ask them. They will be very happy to tell you exactly why they're not in the Libertarian Party. It's one thing that libertarians not in the party like to talk about. So might be worthwhile to ask some of them. Um, the Instead of saying, "Hey, we're gonna get on Rogan, we're gonna get on Rubin, we're gonna get on Ben Shapiro, we're gonna get on Glenn Beck, we're gonna get invited back multiple times to these shows, we're gonna put someone up who can really do great in these shows," um, they decided to embrace wokeism and unequivocally get behind Black Lives Matter. As you can say whatever you want to. This was not one tweet or one Facebook post. This was a concerted effort over and over again to throw out cues that we are with the woke crowd and we are with Black Lives Matter. And look, everyone, everyone, every libertarian with a platform called out what a failure, what a terrible idea this was right away. Right away. And this is one of the things that was really frustrating, okay? Is that you have all of these it's like these types in the Libertarian Party, certain type of person, a certain group within the Libertarian Party who kind of fit this dynamic where they how exactly do I say this? They are convinced that they know better how to spread the message of liberty, how to have a successful campaign, how to do all of this stuff than say the libertarians with platforms. They're just convinced that they know better. And I don't know what type of market feedback they've had that gives them this confidence. It's just kind of like it's not based on anything empirically. It's kind of an a priori. We just know that this is what works to reach people, and you guys don't know about this. And okay, I've heard some of them say things like they'll be like, "Well, listen, you can take a certain, position or something like that, or you can handle things a certain way, and that might get you 100,000 podcast downloads an episode, but that's not going to get you millions of votes. And we're going after millions of votes." And like, okay, theoretically, that is possibly true that there could be something that like I could do things a certain way that might be good enough for me to get a nice little podcast audience, but that's not going to get you millions of votes. I mean, that is possible. It's also possible that the people who have actually spread the message of liberty and converted a lot of people to being libertarians might know something about how to message. That's also possible, and I think slightly more likely. But so they were convinced that they knew better and that the woke thing was actually a great way, like, well, listen, the knock on libertarians is that we're racist and we don't care. So we'll prove we're anti-racist and we do care. And we'll get all the racists out of the party and whatever they're fucking, and that they're, look, again, a lot of these mistakes were not made by Joe or Spike. They were made by the people running their social media. But the people running their social media were appointed by them. And they were these people who are like, yep, we know better how to message, and this is what you really have to do: prove to people how woke you are, or whatever. And they kind of acted in this way, like when people like myself, like libertarians with platforms, who immediately called this shit out. And it's not a coincidence. It's not a coincidence that when they were going all woke and siding with Black Lives Matter, that like everyone, every libertarian with a platform. I mean, Ron Paul, Tom Woods, Michael Malice, Eric July, myself, like I don't know, fucking Scott, Pete, every libertarian with a platform was like, this is terrible. Don't do this. But they decided they knew better. And the results are in now. No libertarian movement has been created. No group of libertarians has been converted. No libertarian moment happened at all. It's not even the 20th thing someone would talk about over what's gone on politically in the next few months, in the last few months. None of it worked. And you know, they kind of had this attitude that it was like, oh, you're only really objecting to the woke shit because no, one of them would be, I heard like, one of the social media directors or one of the social media people was saying something like, she goes, well, yeah, like some of these podcasters need to realize that not everything's for you. Like every message doesn't have to be for you. This might be for someone else. And it was like, yeah, but that's not that. My complaint isn't that this is for me. My point is that this is for no one. This is fucking for no one. This is to just turn people off. And it's stupid strategy. And then it would kind of be a thing like, oh, well, I guess you're just racist. And that's what, I guess you just had a real problem with Joe Jorgensen saying she doesn't want to be racist. You must kind of be racist. And it's like, yes, you're right. Every libertarian with a platform just happened to think this was a terrible idea. And I guess it's because we're all secret racists, even though we never say any racist shit. It's just that, that was our problem with this. Instead of you fucking idiots realizing that it's not racists who have a problem with wokeism. It's normal people. Like every normal person rejects wokeism. Wokeism, turns out, is not fucking popular. It's extremely unpopular. That's why you can't even win on it in the Democratic primary. You can't fucking, dude, wokeism is like fucking less than 1% of the population actually likes it. They're just the loudest cunts amongst us. So fucking, it's like Tucker Carlson, right? Like he can't get advertising for his fucking show because these woke people will fucking, like go crazy and boycott the fucking advertisers. Tucker Carlson, you're like, oh, well, he must be pretty unpopular. No, he's the most popular cable news show ever by far. He's lapping, his competition at CNN 3 times over. No, actually, people actually really like Tucker, but the fucking woke crowd, whatever. So so you went after, not only did you go after this awful, like horrible audience, this horrible group, but you're never going to convert them because it's a religion anyway. It doesn't matter how much you start saying, repeating their dogma. It's just, if anything, that'll just prove to them that they can break you. That's like how they work. If you go like, well, I completely agree with you on 1, 2, and 3, they're like, how about 4? Or are you a Nazi? That's how these woke proponents work. And eh, and it really turned off everybody else. Turned off everybody else for obvious reasons. It makes you like just, you know, radioactive to anyone from the center all the way to the right. You're radioactive now. And truthfully speaking, about 2/3 of the center to the left don't really like it either. That's, it's a pretty big problem. And the Black Lives Matter thing was just, they really went all in on that. And again, like people can say like, well, this was just like, it was just like 7 or 8 tweets about this stuff. And it wasn't really, the whole campaign. It's like, well, listen, if this is what everyone's talking about and this is what, then that's kind of on you guys. This is what people will remember of this campaign. And you could say, oh, yeah, we also said a thing where we're against the lockdown, or we also had something where we're against the looting. But it's like, yeah, but there was never the emphasis placed on any of that stuff that there was on the fucking Black Lives Matter shit, on the woke shit. I mean, look, I know Spike like apologized for it and said and deleted the post later, but the fact that you had someone running your social media who would ever post that garbage about how there's a transgender genocide going on and it's Donald Trump's fault and 2020 will be remembered for Donald Trump enabling a trans genocide. And I mean, the fact that you'd even have someone on your social media who would think to put that message out just shows where your mind's at. And it's really, really bad. It like there's just that's just going to it destroyed your chance of ever making any inroads with the audiences of people who were the only like shows that would put you on. And by the way, all of these people like Dave Rubin, Tim Pool, Glenn Beck, Ben Shapiro, even all the big shows that had Joe Jorgensen on, all of their audiences are at least somewhat open to the libertarian message. But what's a deal breaker for them? The fucking woke shit. And for, for understandable reasons. Now, Black Lives Matter, just like I said, all those people, the whoever, Ron Paul and Tom Woods and Michael Malice and Eric July and myself and all the libertarians of the platform also realized it was a bad idea to embrace Black Lives Matter early on for obvious reasons. I mean, it's not like it fucking, things were really peaceful and really on point for a while, and then they kind of got out of hand. Like it was there was violence in Minneapolis. It was like the fucking first day there was fucking violence. It was clear right from the beginning. And there's a real irony in the fact that like the anti-racist crowd is fine with joining up with Black Lives Matter. Like, I kind of like the way I would say it is I think I mentioned this on my show a while ago, but it almost it feels to me like if there was a group um called Abolish Taxes on Whites, like that was abolish all taxes on white people. And they were like, look, we think taxation is theft, and then we don't want white people to be robbed. So abolish all taxes on white people. And then like the libertarians were like, yeah, well, we got to support them because they're against taxation. And you're like, oh, well, I mean, I guess, like, kind of, but you would kind of say something like, well, I mean, we are against taxing white people, but we're also against taxing everybody, just so it's clear. And like, seems kind of weird to make this like a racial thing. And then if that same group was, I don't know, like looting a Walmart and burning down businesses, and then they were storming restaurants and running up to random black people sitting there and being like, you're a fucking part of the problem, and you need to fucking right now, I need you to say abolish all taxes on white people or you hate white people. And I was like, dude, I don't think we should get involved with this group at all. Like, this seems nuts. And then your response was like, okay, so obviously you hate white people, right? Like, you can see how insane that would be and how obvious everything I'm saying is. And that's kind of how a lot of us were seeing it on this other side. It's like, yeah, look, man, I don't want anybody to be victimized by the cops. And I personally think that, uh, I mean, look, everyone deserves a fucking trial or some type of process, but I don't know. I think people should go to jail for that George Floyd shit. And I think people should go to jail for Breonna Taylor. I think they were both fucking criminal. Um, but there is zero evidence that either of those incidents had anything to do with race. And if I'm wrong, send me the fucking evidence. And I'll gladly, take a look at it and keep an open mind. But I see zero evidence that they had anything to do with race. And once you're on board with a movement like that, that's becoming violent and going around, and there's riots all over the place, and the media is all saying they're peaceful protests, and it was just, they made this fucking gamble, and it didn't pay off. It alienated their entire audience, the entire audience of potential converts, and it got them nothing. And I fucking called this when it happened, and I'm not happy that I was right about it. I wish I wasn't. But so there you go. Now, the reason why I think this is an important, thing to talk about is because we got to learn from this. We got to learn from this and not repeat these mistakes going forward. So going forward, what you want to have is a fucking, you want to have candidates who they have to like understand the moment, understand it's like Joe Jorgensen. She didn't even realize, she just had no idea. And Spike, I think he knows, but he's just bought into the fucking, like, kind of some type of woke mindset. Like, Spike is completely bought into the fact that we are, systemically racist country, and that there are these marginalized groups. And it really is almost like, it's like this quasi-religious, almost just like a priori type given. Like, these things are just given. They never really have to be, demonstrated. It's just given. And so like, I remember at one point when I had Spike on my show, it was one of the parts that really stuck out to me, and I didn't press Spike that hard. I wasn't really trying to like damage the ticket. But at one point I was asking, we were talking about something about like the plight of black people in America. And we are talking about, whether the war on drugs is racist or it just disproportionately affects black people. And he said something about, I was talking about black people, and he went, look, marginalized communities like black people and women and the LGBT community. And he just like said it like that when I was talking about black people. And he was like, look, they're a marginalized community like women and LGBT. I remember even just thinking to myself, like, what? Like, what am I talking to a leftist? Like, what the fuck do transgender people have to do with what I'm talking about? What? I'm talking about black people. The fuck did you just bring transgender people into this for? Like, what? Who? This is like some fucking woke construct that does not exist in real life. That would even be, well, they both fall into marginalized groups. What? I don't know. I just think this shit is so crazy. And then there's like these fucking, the left part of the LP that'll be like, well, that's because you're racist or something. Or it's like, no, this is all just fake. This is fucking bullshit. Like what? Anyway, all of that stuff turned a lot of people off, and I understand why. And they ended up kind of going all in with not the organization but the movement, and then the movement kind of showed their face as like a violent, racist, murderous group. I mean, like, dozens of people were murdered in all of these Black Lives Matter riots, and you guys kind of got on board with them, and it's just a bad decision to make. And even when they were called on it, they'd brag. Spike would be like, hey, I went down to this Black Lives Matter rally and they endorsed me. And this is like, okay, well, let's see where they are. And you'd go look at the comment section on her Dave Rubin appearance. The whole thing is just Black Lives Matter. And fuck you. You endorse Black Lives Matter. You're not with us. All of them were walking away from the woke shit. The woke shit is something that needs to be confronted. And a libertarian going forward, I mean, at the very least, you have to not be a proponent of it. And I think more reasonably, you probably have to confront it, because it is something that's really being used to divide the country. It's anti-liberty, it's collectivist, racist garbage that's truly divisive. And um I don't know. I don't, the worst part about it might be that it's fucking truly, racist and genuinely harms people. And the worst part about it might be what it's going to trigger on the right as a response to it. And so who the fuck knows? But all of it's just really bad. And of course, the entire establishment and all the statists, they love it. They fucking love it because it's just like a big distraction. So they can fucking throw, Goldman Sachs can send their white executives to diversity training, and oh, look at that, we're cool with the left, and we can keep fucking raping the economy. So you can't get on board with that. I think probably you have to fight it, and also it's just very, very unpopular. So all of that drowned out the fucking message, and they weren't particularly great at giving the message. Spike better than Joe, but not enough. All right, look, I guess I'm gonna fucking wrap up around there. That was just kind of the basics of what I wanted to say, but I'll say this to people who are in the Libertarian Party. Look, like, I fucking joined and I want to help. I want to do whatever I can. I don't like I didn't need to do this. It's not like I'm doing this to benefit myself in some way. It's I the people in the Libertarian Party would still fucking listen to my show if I didn't join the Libertarian Party. They were already listening. So it is, fucking I want to help. I'm not here to just shit on people for no reason. I'm not looking to like be in some fucking battle for no reason. I'm just saying that I think we blew a great opportunity. And I know there are people who sit there and they go, "Oh, this was just a bad year for a third party," or this was, we can't fucking make excuses like this. And by the way, you're wrong. It wasn't a bad year. It was the best year. It's the fucking best year. It's the best year to be a libertarian. The year the government wouldn't let people out of their houses and kicked tens of millions of people out of work and raped the American people. And you got Joe Biden versus Donald Trump. Fuck that. That's the best year. That's the best year to be a fucking libertarian third party candidate. That's the year to really wake people up. And we blew that. And we don't get to make excuses. We don't get to go, well, it's hard, or well, there was a media blackout, or well, it was this. You're on the plane and the wings cracked and we're fucking going down and you know how to fix it. You don't get to go, well, it was a bad time to go fix the wing. It's like, you want to die or you want to go fucking fix the wing? Like, we don't So we have to, so I don't want to insult Joe or insult Spike, but we don't have a fucking option to not be honest and learn from this shit because this is really that important. It's a lot of times here you find out like what libertarians actually believe this shit and who's just kind of like, oh, this is a fun club to be in or something. We are actually on a fucking suicide mission and we need to get our fucking shit together, not focus on bullshit and actually focus on how we can spread this message. And I just fucking wish some of the people in the Libertarian Party um, would fucking, god damn it, take some fucking input from the people who are actually successful at spreading this message. So I would never, man, if there were any of these, like if you showed me right away, you were like, well, Spike is bringing a lot of people to the Libertarian fucking Party. Spike is bringing a lot of people in. Like, oh, look at all these people. He's changed their fucking lives. They're all libertarians now. This guy was a leftist. This guy was a right wing guy. They're all libertarians. If I saw that, I'd shut the fuck up and salute Spike. That's what I would fucking do. I do everything I can to fucking help. There's listen to the way I talk about fucking Ron Paul. Listen to the way I talk about Tom Woods, the way I talk about Scott Horton, the way like these are my fucking generals and I'm a soldier. I'm happy in that role. But I'm not gonna sit here when I see everybody fucking up and then fucking like when you point it out, they fucking like come after you. Like it's like, well, yeah, you had a real problem when fucking because Joe Jorgensen's against racism. Like, yes, that's the fucking problem. You're right. You got it. It's not that I was watching her blow the fucking biggest opportunity for the liberty movement this year. It's just that I'm that angry when someone's against racism. Fucking. Okay. So going forward, I was just on the phone with Michael Heiss earlier today. Let me tell you this: we got a lot of big fucking things planned for what we're gonna do with the LP going forward. Big fucking things planned. But I do want to say this to the people who in the LP who don't like me. I know there's a lot of people here who fucking really like me. There's a lot of people who are indifferent or whatever, but there are some people who really fucking don't like me. Like all the people running the fucking social media campaign for the fucking Jorgensen Cohen ticket. And like, okay, listen, let me try to extend an olive branch to you guys before I take over your party in the next few years. Sorry, I know I'm a little bit of a dick, but let me try. Let me try my best here. Okay. Look, maybe I came into this fucking party a little bit too aggressive. Maybe I have a style that turns some of you guys off. I know I came right in and like my first big thing was fucking debating Sarwalk and like all that shit. And then so like it's kind of, and then I was fighting with a bunch of other people. I feel like it was defense every time. I think libertarians are pretty keen on recognizing the difference between aggression and defense. Not saying any of this is violence, but you know what I'm saying? Like there's a big, it's important. It's not like if someone comes and punches someone and they punch them back, we go, well, they both punched, so they're equally guilty. Like, no, libertarians understand. So look, I'm not trying to get in fights or fucking get in conflict unnecessarily with anyone. I'll always fucking defend my friends and fight when I think it's right to. But if you, whatever impression you have of me, let me just tell you, like, I fucking promise you, I'm not some fucking secret racist who's here to like try to push some fucking right-wing views. Like I've said before, my best friend is Luis Gomez, a Puerto Rican gay guy. Okay. And he's literally like a brother to me. I'm not a prejudiced person. I'm not here for some right-wing takeover of the Libertarian Party. I am here for a libertarian takeover of the Libertarian Party. That's what's happening in the next few years. And if you're a libertarian, you should be psyched about this because it's going to be fucking great. Because what's got to happen now is the only answer, if we're going to fix that fucking wing on the plane and not crash, is that we need to start actually listening to people who know how to fucking spread this message, who have done it effectively in the past. I don't want to hear how great someone's message is when it's never fucking worked on any level. Okay? Let's start listening to the people who are actually persuading people. That's what we need, okay? And that's what we're going to start fucking doing. And I got some fucking big plans for it. So stay tuned. All right. I've been going longer than I thought I would. I never know in my mind. I'm like, I got like 15 minutes worth of stuff to say. It's closer to an hour. All right. I love you guys. And yeah, there you go. LP postmortem. There it is. I will end once again with thank you to Spike and Joe. I really do appreciate you guys fucking giving it a shot. They were a pure, libertarian ticket, much more so than the last one. And so I think that part's good. All right. Love you all. Thanks for watching. Peace.